All right, let's get right into it. Deep in Rajasthan, there's a place where history isn't just written in books. It's buried under layers of legend and, well, pure fear. This isn't just any spooky spot. It's often called one of the most terrifying places on the entire planet. We're talking about Bangar Fort.
You know, the locals have a saying that really tells you everything you need to know. They say, in the evening, people think 10 times before even looking up at the fort. Think about that. The fear is so real that people won't even glance in its direction after sunset. This isn't just some campfire story. It's a feeling that completely takes over the area when night falls, and we're about to find out exactly why.
And get this, in all of India, Bangar holds the undisputed #1 spot for the most haunted place. But how does a place earn that kind of chilling reputation? Is it just a bunch of old stories, or is there something way more sinister going on?
To really get a feel for the modern terror of Bangar, we're not going to start centuries ago. Nope, we're going to look at a story that supposedly happened very recently. It's the absolutely terrifying account of a tour guide named Manav, a young guy who said he saw death dancing right before his eyes.
So, who was Manav? Well, he was just a 20-year-old guide, the only person supporting his elderly parents. And he was really good at his job, because he had a special talent. He knew how to add masala, that extra spice to his stories. He knew that just plain history wasn't going to cut it. Fear, now that's what paid the bills. He was basically running what you could call a business of fear, making the legends of Bangar even scarier for a bigger tip.
But one night, his whole world came crashing down. It all started with a series of small but fatal decisions. First, a group of tourists offered him extra money for a tour after dark, and his greed got the best of him. Second, he flat out broke the government's rule. A rule from the Archaeological Survey of India that says no one, absolutely no one, is allowed inside after 6 p.m. Third, the college kids he was guiding, they played a horrible prank, ditched him and just disappeared into the darkness. And finally, the worst part, he realized he was trapped. The gates were locked, the sun was gone, and he was completely alone inside Bangar Fort.
So there he is, all alone, getting more and more nervous. But then he hears something that actually makes him feel relieved. The sound of women laughing and talking in a room nearby. He thinks, finally, someone else is here. He walks toward a curtain. He can even see their silhouettes moving around. So he pulls back the curtain, ready to ask for help, and there's nothing. Just a cold, dark, empty room. The voices were just gone. He turns around to get out of that creepy room, and that's when he sees her. Standing right there is a woman. At first, she just looks sad, maybe a little lost, but as he steps closer, her face begins to twist into something he could only describe as a truly terrifying smile.
He does the only thing any of us would do. He runs. He just bolts, sprinting through the dark, crumbling hallways of the fort. But every single time he dares to look back, she's there, right behind him, with that same horrifying grin on her face, keeping pace with him without making a single sound.
He's completely desperate, and then he sees a light up ahead, a shop. There's a shopkeeper inside. Manav rushes in trying to gasp for help. The figure doesn't even look at him. And then a chilling woman's voice comes out of the shopkeeper, saying she'd been waiting for him. As the figure slowly turns around, his blood runs cold. It's her. Again.
As he stumbles backward in total shock, his terror just explodes. It was like the very walls of the fort began to melt away, and from them emerged an entire army of the dead. Spirits with broken limbs, spirits with burned faces, all of them crawling and lunging toward one person, him. He turns and flees again, scrambling up a flight of stairs with this horde of spirits right on his heels. He has no idea where he's going, he's just running for his life. He gets to the top and suddenly, they all stop. They won't cross the doorway. He'd stumbled, by sheer luck, into a small Hanuman temple, a holy place they couldn't enter. He just collapsed right there and woke up the next morning to the sounds of tourists, safe, but forever changed by what he saw.
What a story, right? Absolutely terrifying. But it makes you wonder, what's the real source of all this darkness? What could have possibly happened here all those years ago to curse this place so deeply? Let's rewind the clock and dig into the original legends.
Okay, so the haunting of Bangar really boils down to two main stories. First, you've got the Sage's Curse. This was a warning from a holy man way back when the fort was being built. He said pretty clearly,
If the shadow of this fort ever touches my home, this entire city will be destroyed. Then there's the second, more famous story, the Tantric's Curse. This one is a wild tale of obsessive love, black magic, and a revenge plot that went horribly wrong.
So let's break down that second curse, because it's a crazy story. It all started with a tantric, a guy who practiced dark magic, and he became totally obsessed with the beautiful Princess Ratnavati. To try and win her love, he put a spell on a bottle of perfume she was going to buy. But the princess was smart. She sensed the dark magic, and she threw the bottle. As it flew through the air, it magically turned into a giant boulder, which landed right on the tantric and crushed him. As he lay there dying, he used his very last breath to curse the entire city, saying everyone who lived in Bangalore would die and their spirits would be trapped there forever. And guess what? Just 1 year later, a war broke out. The whole city was destroyed, and every single person, including the princess, was killed.
It's an incredible legend, isn't it? But after hearing both Manav's modern horror story and these ancient curses, you gotta ask yourself, how much of this is real, and how much is just part of that business of fear we talked about earlier?
And that leads us to the biggest question of all. Is Bangalore really India's #1 most haunted place? Or has its spooky reputation been, carefully built up over the years?
So let's try to deconstruct this legend. Remember our guide, Manav? Even he admitted he was part of that business of fear, making stories scarier to make a living. But it goes deeper. Some of the most well-known paranormal investigators, like the late Gaurav Tiwari, have actually gone to Bangalore with all their equipment and found nothing. No significant evidence of ghosts at all. In fact, many paranormal experts believe there are other places in India that are way more active. So why does this story stick so hard? Well, maybe it's because a really good, scary story is just more powerful than a quiet, boring truth.
The source material we looked at sums it all up with this perfect little phrase, fear has no meter. It's a really profound thought, isn't it? You can't use a machine to measure dread. You can't put a number on a haunting. It's a feeling, a powerful emotion that takes root in a place, and more importantly, in our own minds.
And that leaves us with one final, twisting thought. Fear has no meter. Or does it? Could it be that the collective belief of millions of people, the centuries of chilling stories, and the raw terror felt by people like Manav actually creates a reality all its own? Maybe some things are real just because we believe they are. And that is something for you to decide.